Gabby the game night, Gabby the game night, Gabby the game night, yay. Alright, we're back. Mr. On Guard did not take his costume off during the break period. In that case, the costume we were talking about was a spare one.
What? Then I was saying that on the night of the murder, there were 2 nickel samurai costumes at the Gateway Hotel?
If I had a nickel for every time there were every nickel samurai costume there was at the Gateway Hotel that night, I'd have had 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's strange that there were 2. Yes, that is what I am saying.
And how do you explain the costume that was inside the guitar case? It would mean that the victim himself had brought this spare to the ceremony on purpose. But why? The victim, Mr. Kurta, was the German ninja. Why would he secretly bring the nickel samurai spare costume with him? What could be the reason behind such a peculiar act? Is he a fan?
And therein lies the sticking point.
What are you mumbling to yourself about now? Have you just been rambling all this time without any sense of inner monologue?
Huh? No, I just...
Mr. Wright, please explain yourself. Why do you think the victim had the nickel samurai spare costume?
Phoenix, are you sure you can explain this one?
Yes.
Think carefully before you answer, and then answer with gusto. I believe in you. Why'd I save down there? I went way far on that one.
I don't know.
I
think I can get all record on all cases new game, considering there are 0 ones for it.
Nice.
Only
all
1
right.
for original
This is
cases
what I
in
think.
the game.
The reason the victim brought the nickel samurai spare costume to the hotel was...
Yeah. What is this?
On the night of the murder, after the stage show, the nickel samurai was going to hold a special press conference.
A press conference?
A press conference?
A press conference?
Yes, the nickel samurai was supposed to confess something at his conference. I heard about
this as well. For once, you're not making something up, right?
Right. But what struck me as strange was that Mr. On Guard himself said he had no idea he was supposed to be holding a press conference that night.
But how can that be?
The way I see it, that can mean only one thing. The conference was set up by none other than the victim, Mr. Juan Corrida himself.
The victim?
Yes. The spare nickel samurai costume was prepared for that very conference. Mr. Corrida was going to hold the press conference as the nickel samurai.
He was going to dress up as the nickel samurai and hold a conference? But why did the victim do such a thing?
That's something I don't quite know yet. However, what I am concerned with right now is what he intended to reveal at that conference.
The nickel samurai was going to confess something. And by confess, I'd wager he was going to reveal something about himself.
Which means that Juan Corrida, posing as the nickel samurai, was going to speak about Matt on Guard.
I am the nickel samurai and I have a small dick.
I am the nickel samurai, I speak for the trees.
Yes, I guess that is what it would mean. But if that's the case, that's not a confession, that's public disclosure. Miss Andrews.
I can see why you are pros at what you do.
Pardon me?
Yes, just as you say, the press conference was set up by Juan.
Miss Andrews, please offer us an explanation for this.
I was the one he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared the second costume for him, that was also me.
You?
Juan had bet everything on the Jammin' Ninja this year. And if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought, anyway. But then I killed the bitch.
You was going to ruin him, huh?
It looked like somehow Juan had in his hands a secret so powerful that it would destroy Matt's acting career had it been revealed. What?
And do you know what this secret of Mr. Guard's is? Miss Andrews? Miss Andrews,
That's something only Juan knew. I don't know what it is.
I see.
I've probably been coming off quite suspicious to everyone, but that's to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt, after all. Protect Mr. On Guard.
And yet again, another strange bit of truth comes to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could, please tell us the truth about your behavior.
Yes, Your Honor. I understand.
Protecting Matt.
From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what, and he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, the button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt that I had to protect him.
This does account for everything.
Well, I am the logical type. We're finally seeing her true self. She is more nervous than a scared rabbit.
If the defense can find no fault with this testimony, I'm ready to make a ruling. Please keep that in mind as you cross-examine Mr. Wright.
Looks like somehow everything has swung to the opposite end of the scale again. It just means I have to put my weight into this and turn her logic upside down.
Yeah. Like in Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, when you go to the castle upside down.
Would you say that was your intuition speaking to you? Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. If you want to prove that someone did something, you need 3 things. 3 things. A motive, an opportunity to commit the crime, and finally, decisive evidence. And if you think these 3 things through, the answer becomes quite clear. You should have already known that, Phoenix. They didn't teach that to us in school, at least not from what I remember. May I continue now? So would you say this need came from the press conference? Yes. Do you know why Juan chose that event in that hotel for the conference? Because that was when he could cause the most damage to the public's beloved Matt on Guard.
And you knew of this plan, didn't you, Miss Andrews?
Yes, because I was the one who set up the conference and prepared the costume. But I'm sure Mr. On Guard himself didn't know anything about the press conference. Oh, really? Can you show me any proof that he didn't know about the press conference? Anyway, the important thing here is that this information was not in your testimony.
Yes, I agree, Miss Andrews. Please correct your testimony, if you please.
Grasping at straws now, are we, Mr. Wright? Has Mr. On Guard done something to hurt or betray you personally? Why do you ask? You were the one who helped Mr. Carita with his press conference, and that event was supposed to bring down Mr. On Guard, yet you still helped out. The person on
trial right now is Mr. On Guard, right? What the witness was thinking, helping the victim with his plan, is none of our concern. In any case, this means that the defendant had a motive to kill.
Why do I keep doing this to myself? But didn't you already testify earlier that Mr. On Guard was taking a nap in his room? Are you telling me now that you two, or that too, was a lie so you could cover for Mr. On Guard? I'm not telling you anything of the sort. When I went to get him for the show, he honestly was sleeping. However, as to whether he was sleeping the entire time, that I cannot say. I was too busy setting up the stage at the time.
I keep trying, but I can find no flaws with what Miss Andrews has said. Can't say the same for some people at this court.
Judge is glaring straight at Mia. He's glaring at you, smart guy.
Did Mia read his thoughts there?
You can hardly call the knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever camouflage. Then, what about the button? The button? It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and his murderer fought. And during the fight, the button came off.
You're talking about this button, correct?
That button was found in the pleats of Matt Sakama, isn't that correct? I would think that makes it very decisive evidence.
Looks like you're outfoxed again, Mr. Wright.
Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony. I can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat. Thank goodness me, can still look at me. With an icy stare, yes.
Miss Andrews, for Miss Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony.
And how do you know that? When the ends of the threads of the button in the costume were matched up, they were found to fit together perfectly. Or so I heard. I've heard that before too. But why would Miss Andrews know about this case down to such a fine detail? Don't look at me like that, just because I'm prepared and you are not. And I thought I had her this time for sure. If there's anything to strip her up on, it has to be here, but where and what? But what you really did was stab the guy in the back, didn't you? And at the worst possible time.
Who's to say she really stabbed the guy in the back, as you put it?
This witness could have disclosed things about Mr. On Guard at any time. Why then would she wait until there was a large audience before doing so? It's the same reason why Mr. Corda planned such an elaborate conference. Ms. Andrews wanted to cause Mr. On Guard as much damage as she possibly could. This witness bears ill will towards the defendant.
This isn't the Phoenix Wright Wax philosophical power hour. And please, stop slandering the witness.
As I expected, Miss Andrews' testimony seems pretty solid. Really? Because to me it sounded a little wishy-washy. Wishy-washy? Well, I guess we'll see if I press a little more. You should know this by now. But you'll need strong, decisive evidence to make her talk. Got it, Chief. I'm going to pin you down this time, Miss Andrews.
Let's drop save, if you haven't already. Always drop save. So probably either something with the button or
Yeah, I mean,
the other part.
From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right. And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. That button was torn off Juan during his fight with Matt.
I mean, do we know?
But I'm Matt's manager, so I thought that I had to protect him. Do what, Dill?
Do we know it was torn off during the fight?
No. But I'm not sure that helps.
I mean, any contradiction.
Seems awfully weak.
Let's look at the photo.
Huh?
Let's look at the crime photo. Yeah, it doesn't really tell us much. I mean, there's blood under where the button would be. Is that something?
I don't know.
There's blood on the button and under it, that's weird.
Maybe?
That's my only thought. I don't know what to say now.
I'll try it. There's too many photos. I don't think this is it.
Okay, so close the game, we open it.
This evidence clearly reveals the contradiction in that statement, Your Honor. How exactly the evidence in the statement just now related? They aren't, are they? Not at all, Mr. Wright. Produce think the factual before making accusations. Ugh.
Just hold B, just hold B, just hold B.
Oh, yeah. Nah, I don't know that really helps on the guilty verdict.
This is a... God damn it.
We've lost more times in this case than I think all the other cases combined.
God damn it, we
shouldn't have wasted all that energy.
We suck at this.
With the Magatama.
We suck at this. We're the worst at Chinese. Okay. The ball's off, it's for math. No context in that. I mean, no way contradiction there.
No, I'm just looking through our evidence again.
I mean, we could find the button at the bottom though.
Yeah, I'm not saying we won't, but let's just look through things for a second first.
Amazing clipping. Down alibi, but bones off.
I'll try presuming the button here. Yeah, I don't think it was the button.
Ah! Can you like wait? Can you press option and press load? The load option next to the save option. Though.
Yeah. Ugh.
Indeed.
Not even ugh, but ub.
Ub.
Okay, so from the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer.
Indeed.
We have no way to contradict that.
Yeah.
In our evidence, anyway. I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove him right. There's nothing to contradict that. He didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. I mean, I don't think we have anything to prove that. That's not going to do anything. That's not going to do anything. I don't see how that does anything. Seems like a Nickel Samurai is confessing. I mean, I don't know what that proves. Unless, like, you didn't want to protect him because you helped set the thing up, but
yeah,
kind of gone down that road.
Yeah.
The stolen photo camera doesn't really prove anything.
Probably won't. Yeah. There's no important info in pressing, was there?
Do what?
There's no important info in pressing, right? That's it.
I don't think so.
Not.
Pretty much just went through it, right?
Yeah. That's annoying.
And there's nothing I could really do.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the worst.
And Phoenix did say that if there was anything, it would be at the button spot.
Great, well, we've tried the two most obvious things.
That the button was ripped off. Not during the fight. Obviously not the button. Obviously not that. I mean, he was stabbed after the button was taken off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could present the knife.
Maybe. Alright, so I'll tell him to put it. Let's go up to the knife.
I mean, he was stabbed after he was dead, so the button couldn't have come off during a struggle.
Yeah.
So do we present this?
Sure.
This is the victim's autopsy report. It took us a while to get here, I'm sorry. It clearly states the cause of death was strangulation by scarf. It's just strangulation. The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died.
And what does that mean?
Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off the costume. When?
After the knife was stabbed into the victim.
Exactly. Which means it is impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle, because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. Huh? That's right, Ms. Andrews. There's no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off the victim's already dead body.
Order! What is the meaning of this, Wright? So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change?
Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve?
What purpose?
We now know this button was not torn off during the fight, so the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it?
Mr. Wright, does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with the button? What was it?
I assume to pin the criminal on guard, right?
That's what I would assume.
Wait, let's...
Yep, always make save.
ABS, always be saving.
Yep.
There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. On Guard. There's no way anyone would put a bloody button on their own pants. That's right, Mr. On Guard was set up. By the real killer, of course. But hey, that's just a theory. A court
real
theory.
murderer is? Oh, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer then?
I'm going into my dark place. Finally. I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end. The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. On Guard is... I mean, didn't we already establish it was Miss Andrews?
Yeah.
We haven't done anything to prove
It's
it.
Paul.
It's Gumshoe.
It's Edgeworth.
It's
Get him.
Will Powers. The real killer, the person who planned to frame... I mean... You don't think Juan planned to frame him, do you?
Well, no, we're talking about the real killer.
Well, yeah, I know. Maybe he killed himself. It just seems odd that we've already accused her, and now they're making a big deal about us bringing her out.
I mean, yeah, but, like, A-Star has done similar.
Ms. Adrian Andrews, I choose you.
She's a Pokemon!
You are Mr. Corda's killer.
What? Order! Mr. Wright! It's a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge?
Any evidence? All of the evidence points to Ms. Andrews. Well, how preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me. I can't, can I? Would you care to test me? Then what about this knife? The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion onto Mr. On Guard, naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only be taken from his room, and the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you. Then, what about the button that was found in Matt's Hakama? This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only people who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. On Guard was the real killer, there's no way he would have put such incriminating evidence on his own Hakama.
Man, lots of glasses.
The only person who could have put this button in Mr. On Guard's Hakama is the person who went to wake him up from his nap, which is yet again you, Miss Andrews.
I see. What about the empty guitar case?
That is also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. The costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who could have known that there was just such a costume inside the guitar case? It could only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Ms. Adrian Andrews. No,
But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at that time. That's right.
That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Ms. Andrews purposefully left her fingerprints on the glass to show that, yes, indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. And to top it all off, there's this photo. A photo of the killer as they exit the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe this nickel samurai is Mr. On Guard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Ms. Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, are you not? Please, stop. Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got her this time.
Miss Andrews?
I refuse to testify. What was that? There's the law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me.
Well, yes. You're absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination by allowing a witness to not testify if testimony can cause damage to themselves. What?
Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot. Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. On Guard's room. Agent Andrews. Yes? Think hard about what we just discussed. Think hard about what we just discussed. Understood? Alright. That's it. That's when Francisca planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews to not testify if things looked bad. You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. But there is still one thing you haven't done. Something I haven't done?
What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence? What is so humorous, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer has proven up to this point is meaningless.
What?
Everything you have proven is circumstantial.
Circumstantial.
Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor a wish to murder Mr. Kurda.
Now I break out the suicide report?
Yeah. Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Kurda?
I believe this may lead to me incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering.
But Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think?
Maybe so, or maybe not. There's nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime I would be guilty of due to my silence. No, she's taking that defiant attitude again. Mia, what should we do? Somehow we've landed in the worst possible situation.
I think we have reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify. And the defense's theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof.
But that's not true.
In this situation, there's only one thing the court can do, and that is to declare a recess.
Recess?
I request that both the prosecution and the defense look further into this matter. And at tomorrow's trial...
Tomorrow? We don't have it tomorrow. If we don't get a not guilty verdict today, then... Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial. Please continue the trial.
What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he?
That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please, let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Maya...
But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... That's a boy. It is not impossible for this trial to continue. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you... It's true Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation was something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, but... Actually, there's one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews. When you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice.
Yes, and...
I can't help but think about how unnatural that is. Usually, when one finds a body, they are shake it up, not stirring a glass of juice.
So my actions were unusual, but I've already...
Before you speak, I want you to state that if you have a reason behind your actions. I would like you to testify to that effect.
Testify?
Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness.
I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he a friend or foe? I just don't know.
He's a buddy. He's our best pal. The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please.
Yay, more testimony. The glass of juice. I didn't really pour it for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in that messy state. And Juan, he was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. When I saw him sitting like that, I thought that he was dead. The thought that he was dead didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice.
Ah, knife for your chest, man must have fainted. Oh, man.
When I realized that he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over.
So you poured that glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your testimony?
I didn't think I needed to include something so trivial. Phoenix, please be careful here. If you can't find anything wrong with this testimony, then there's nothing left. I know. Edgeworth, what the heck is going on in that brain of yours?
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Make sure to drop safe before doing anything.
Oh, goodness, you're such a coward. Think I don't have this under control? I have one hit point, that's all I need. But there wasn't anyone else in the room, right? Of course not. Then who did you pour it for? Mr. Wright, there's a rhyme and reason for everything. Can you wait just a little longer for it to be revealed to you?
In other words, Wright, be quiet and listen.
To the same thing we already heard. Precisely. I couldn't have said it better myself. So, it was a mess. Are you sure it wasn't messy because of your fight with Mr. Corda?
I understand your frustrations at not being able to prove your theory, however, before you go accusing people of crimes, go find yourself some evidence. Dumbass.
Yeah.
And then, what did you see next, witness?
Slumped over. Yes, he was just sitting there with his head tilted forward, eyes closed. He really looked like he was sleeping. Is it just me, or did that right there sound a little odd? Then what did cross your mind? I thought maybe he had smashed everything up in anger because he lost the Grand Prix, and then felt tired after his rampage, so he decided to take a nap. Anyways, that's what I thought.
I see, so you didn't think he was dead at all? Yeah, he had a knife sticking out of his chest.
You thought he fainted. I thought he was asleep at first, but then the room was in such a messy state, I thought maybe he had gotten into a fight with someone.
And that's when you went to pour the glass of juice.
Yes, he always had a hard time waking up, so Juan always had a glass of tomato juice to drink.
I see, and after that, what happened next?
And how did you come to realize that he was, in fact, dead? I shook him over and over, but I never got a response. So I set the glass down on the dresser and tried to take his pulse. I was shocked and staggered backward.
And knocked the flower vase over. So that's what happened.
Yes. This is what it all comes down to. Huh? This is the absolute end for both sides, and Adrian is letting her guard down. Phoenix now has our best chance yet to kill the prosecution's case. Isn't that a bit harsh, Miss Andrews? Will you tell us the truth this time?
Yeah, he has a knife sticking out of his chest. You know, it's kind of. That's represent the crime scene photo of the knife. And one of the plots was like, oh man, I didn't know he was dead. Knife. In chest. Knife. What's it?
So you honestly didn't think he was dead when you found him? No, not at all. Even though this is what you saw when you discovered the body.
What is the meaning of this?
Isn't it obvious, Your Honor? There's a knife sticking out of Mr. Corda's chest. Anyone who saw this scene would have immediately thought that here was a dead man. Well, you see, I doubt a single person in the world would mistake this for someone who fainted, and then so nonchalantly go pour something to drink.
Your point is?
Ms. Andrews, your testimony just now, it was all one giant lie. And your lie has proven one thing very clearly, that you are the real killer. No.
Her caps lock turned off halfway through that. It looks like the defense has somehow brought the ugly truth to light. The defendant, Mr. Matterngard, is not guilty after all.
But that's impossible. You're wrong.
Miss Andrews, try and have some composure.
It wasn't me, I tell you. It was Matt, I swear. He's the one who killed Juan. But you were the one who refused to testify. And your reason for not doing so was that you might end up incriminating yourself. That's because...
Miss Andrews, I will give you one last chance. What exactly are you hiding that may incriminate you?
I refuse to testify.
There's no need for this court to continue any further. Mr. Matterngard's innocence has clearly been demonstrated.
Is it over? Have we
even
found the truth
close.
at last? What's wrong, Phoenix? Usually the real killer confesses his or her guilt. And now that I think about it, this isn't the first time someone hasn't.
Now then, I'd like to hand down my verdict for Mr. Matterngard. Your Honor, the prosecution feels that it would be premature to pass down a verdict at this time. What? The reason is quite simple. This witness has yet to speak the absolute real truth. The absolute real truth? What are you? Witness, don't you understand yet?
Huh?
I don't know who planted this silly idea in your head. But as long as you protect yourself through your silence, Matt and God will go free, and in his place, you will become the guilty party.
That's a lie. I don't believe you.
What?
I was told if I spoke, then it would be all over, and Matt would never be declared guilty. What in the world is she talking about? Has she lost it? I can't speak about it. I'm too scared. It's Franziska von Karma. Huh? Don't you remember, Phoenix? Miss Andrews lives by gripping tightly onto the words of another, because she doesn't have the strength to believe in herself. Then right now, Miss Andrews is... Yesterday, she was tossed a lifesaver by Miss von Karma. Don't say a word no matter what happens. If you do, Matt on guard will be acquitted. Miss Andrews undyingly believes in those words right now, and is clinging to them. Then what should we do? This is the first time I've ever come across anything like this. Miss Andrews has to be the killer, right? All we have to do now is get her not guilty. That is my only priority. It wasn't me. I'm begging you, please believe me. I didn't kill Juan. Help, please, someone, help me.
Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, can't continue on like this. Therefore, I'd like to know what you intend to do.
What I intend to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say?
Right, I suggest you think very carefully about this. Think about what this witness did, and what she did not do. And think about who is the real mastermind behind this crime.
Who's the real mastermind? Isn't that obvious? There's no one else it could be except the woman crying over there, right?
Come now, what will you do? What kind of man are you, Mr. Phoenix Wright?
I have to win a complete acquittal today. There's no way around that. But I can't bring myself to do it like this. Not when she's making a face like that. Ms. Andrews, I would like to know what you were really hiding.
Mr. Wright, are you sure? You know what you're doing?
Sure, Mr. On Guard would get an acquittal, but in his place, you would be found guilty. Is this how you really want this trial to end? Be quiet. How dare you? You're trying to trick me.
That's enough! I commend you for trying, Mr. Edgeworth. However, it's clear that the defense's theory is the truth.
You're wrong.
What a shame. I had hoped things wouldn't have come to this. However... What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? Miss Andrews, since you absolutely refuse to testify, it falls on my shoulders to disclose this to the court.
Stop.
Mr. Edgeworth? This witness, how should I put this? She has an illness.
What?
And because of this illness, she has tried to commit suicide in the past.
Stop.
This video is
stop.
also not getting shown to anyone. Fuck you. No matter how much you want to hide it, it's no use. I have the evidence right here.
That's the second part of the suicide report. The attempted suicide report.
What will you do now, witness? You know what I am about to do, don't you? I will now reveal to the court the true nature of the pitiful woman known as Adrian Andrews.
The secret of her dependent nature. Having other people know about it scares her more than anything else in the world. Please stop. I beg you. If people find out. I don't care.
If you're going to say you would choose death, that is of no concern to me.
Told you didn't care. Edgeworth, how can you be so cold?
However, before you die, I will pull the truth from your still breathing lips.
Edgeworth's a savage.
No matter what I have to do. Fucking hell. So will you tell the court yourself, or shall I? Either is fine with me.
I'll talk. But please, help me. Nothing matters anymore. When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted, honest. When I realized he was dead, that was when I formulated my plan. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made a dash back to Matt's room. And then, I stabbed Juan's dead body with the knife and ripped off the button. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience. And that's why I ended up using the Nickel Samurai costume.
Stab the body with the knife? Why would you do that?
Isn't it obvious to pin the blame on a certain person? A certain cowardly man.
What do you mean by all this?
It might take this court a little while to understand, but this is the truth.
The real killer is Matt. That scumbag of a man. I'll never forgive him. He's trying to escape his guilt again, just like last time. Last time?
So, Miss Andrews stabbed the victim, Juan Corda, in the chest with the knife. However, she didn't do it with murder in mind. She did it with the intent of framing Matt and God for the murder. And this is her crime.
What? How is this possible? I mean, wasn't Miss Andrews supposed to be the real murderer?
Mr. Wright, please get over your shock and commence the cross-examination.
But you could tell from the state the room was in that there must have been a fight. Are you telling the truth when you say that you did not know he was dead? He had a scarf tied around his neck. But that scarf is a part of the Jammin Ninja's costume, so I didn't think anything about it was strange. His head was also tilted down a bit, so I couldn't see his face that well. That's why I thought I'd wake him up and let's pour the juice. What is this plan you had? I knew right away the murderer was Matt. I knew because Juan, he was going to expose Matt's weakest weak point to the world. So Matt did this to stop Juan and silence him for good. That's when I thought I should forge some evidence and pin this crime on Matt.
So the forged piece of evidence were the knife and the button.
The first thing that came to mind was to plant the knife. That was so you could get the knife, correct? The knife Matt used at dinner had his fingerprints all over it. I thought if I used that, then the police would certainly turn their eyes towards him. Matt was napping with his costume on at the time. I slipped in, took the knife, and returned to the scene of the crime. And then, I stabbed Juan's dead body with the knife and ripped off the button. Just when I finished and I was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience.
Wait,
I'm sorry, I got...
We've also got second one.
I think I was on this one, right? So you were the one to stab the victim with that knife. It gives me goosebumps to think about it now. What a horrible thing I did. But at the time, I couldn't control my own body. It moved on its own. Then, when I stabbed Juan's dead body, I realized something. If I used the button somehow, I could make Matt look even more suspect.
So you thought to rip one of the buttons off and then plant it in Mr. Ngard's Hakama?
Yes, that's what I had planned to do. But things never go that smoothly, do they? An inconvenience? There was a woman with the camera at the ready, loitering in the hallway. I'm willing to bet my spikes it was Lotta. There was also a woman with a ray gun at the ready, pacing back and forth. As in a Zolbag for you. I had already been caught and made into a big scoop for a certain weekly tabloid once, so I couldn't very well go out looking like myself and get caught again. You were the one who prepared that costume, weren't you? Yes, I took it from Global Studios. I also put it into Juan's guitar case the day before the awards ceremony.
You did this in preparation for the press conference, correct?
Yes, Juan wanted to wear that costume and hold a press conference in it. He was going to disclose Matt's big secret there.
And what is this secret?
That, I don't know. Anyway, I thought that if I were to leave Juan's room in the Nickel Samurai costume, then people would think that Matt was the real murderer. I was very careful not to leave any fingerprints when I opened the guitar case. I absolutely did not want anyone to know about the costume.
I think we've heard enough. So, after that, you went back to Mr. Ngard's room and planted the button.
Into Matt's Hakama? Yes. After that, I folded up the costume I was wearing and put it into a bag. Then I snuck it out of the hotel and got rid of it.
My word. What does all this mean?
Mr. Edgeworth, is it? The real criminal is Matt on guard. Yesterday, that woman prosecutor sat me down for a talk. Franziska, huh? She said that I should, under no circumstances, confess to what I had done. That if I just kept quiet, then Matt would be found guilty, for sure. I had no choice but to believe in her words. What this witness has done is clearly unlawful.
However, as long as her testimony stands, we can be certain she is not the real killer.
Wait, Your Honor. The defense still...
Right. It's pointless. At this point in time, it is not possible to indict Miss Andrews on anything. Why does it have a C in it?
I don't know. We've been over this before.
So dumb. Yes, exactly. There isn't a single piece of evidence that points to her as the motive. Cross-examination of this witness is over, and so is today's trial. You couldn't establish that the witness was the culprit. Please, there you go, Mr. Wright.
But...
Mr. Edgeworth, please place Miss Andrews under arrest for further questioning. Understood, Your Honor. The prosecution will arrange for her detention immediately. That is all. Court is adjourned for today. And I disappeared. I slammed my gavel and disappeared.
So did I screw up?
No.
So Maya had to die? Oh wait, did she escape with the card? Today's trial. It's over. And I didn't win an acquittal. Witness.
Would you mind if I asked you something?
Edgeworth? What is it?
Before you leave court today, I wonder if I might look at one thing. The card in your hand. It's had my interest for quite some time now. What exactly is it?
It's a Pokemon card. Oh, this? Mr. Wright also asked about this. Although I didn't remember at the time you asked me about it, Mr. Wright. I remember just now. I found this in the room on that day. The room?
That day?
Yes. I found this card when I discovered Juan's body. It was lying there right next to him. You found that card next to the victim's body? I suppose I must have unconsciously slipped it into my pocket. But it's not as if this card has any relevance to Juan's murder, right? Yeah, I guess not, but it's still a strange card if you ask me. As far as a clue to this case, I don't see why.
Witness that card! Give it to me! Hurry!
Edgeworth?
Do you have any idea what you have stupidly yet inadvertently done? This. I can't believe you hid this from me all this time.
I didn't mean to. Well, what is this all about? Never seen Edgeworth so emotional before. It's his favorite Pokemon card.
This is my favorite Pokemon card!
That card, what in the world is it, and what does it mean?
Thanks for watching this episode of Gabby the Game Night. That comes up because everything one funny.
Gotta catch 'em all.
Good night.
Gabby the Game Night, Gabby the Game Night, Gabby the Game Night, yay. Come on and watch her play. New games every other day. If you subscribe now, you won't miss out on any of the action. So come on, click that subscribe button.